Welcome to Bandwidth Blog Live. Tonight we're here to discuss three really memorable games in the lead up to the release of Dark Souls 3. We're looking at its progenitor, Dark Souls 2, as well as Bloodborne, and a game that a lot of you might not have played before. Enjoy the show.
So first off, for someone who's never gotten into any of the games in the series, why is it so good?
Look, the series isn't for everyone. I mean, that's for granted, but I think for a game that really challenges you, there's no comparison to the Dark Souls series, and there's really nothing quite like it out there. This is one of the sort of superlative game series that's ever been made, in my opinion, and really is at the pinnacle of what it does. And like all really good games, you can't pin it down to an individual genre. It's not an RPG, it's not an action game, it's sort of all of those things, and it really is something quite unique.
Is it really that difficult?
Look, it's a real marathon. It's not something you're going to waltz through. You need to really put time and energy into learning the way it works and also learning the levels. But the really amazing thing about the game is that once you put the time in, you realize that the challenge isn't too hard to overcome.
Series creator Hidetaka Miyazaki didn't have a hands-on role with Dark Souls 2. Is it as good as the others?
Dark Souls 1 had this amazing world that sort of warped in on itself. It sort of just unfurled like a map, like a cloth. It wasn't broken up into different chunks. In Dark Souls 2, they got a little bit lazy and they allowed you to teleport from the start, so they weren't really forced to create a map that sort of joined at every turn, that was completely seamless. So in that respect, I think Dark Souls 2 isn't quite as good, but in another respect, I mean, it's got better graphics. It runs at 60 frames per second on the PS4, and in a game where quick judgment calls are really important, I think that's a great feature. It's also a great game in its own right. There's a ton of great content there. I think Dark Souls 1 fans will love the game and do love the game. It's been out for a couple of years now, and it really has won a lot of plaudits. It doesn't have that Miyazaki touch which characterized Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1, but in a way it's a really worthy predecessor to Dark Souls 3.
So is Bloodborne Dark Souls?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's essentially the same game. It's got all the hallmarks. It's got the same sound effects in some respects. It's very similar. It's a Miyazaki game. It's Dark Souls in a gothic frock. It's a little bit more horror based, a little bit more gory, but in terms of the series lineage, it's definitely a part of the lineage. And I think anyone who likes Dark Souls absolutely loves Bloodborne.
So then how does Bloodborne's gothic tone differentiate it from Dark Souls?
It really pervades every aspect of the game. It's all about this city that its inhabitants are stuck in this sort of midnight dream, and they're hiding inside their houses while these demons run amok. It really informs every aspect of the design, from the look and feel of the levels to the enemies you encounter. Dark Souls is a lot more high fantasy in terms of you have a shield and you have a sword, whereas Bloodborne's a lot more a scythe and a sheath, and a lot more gothic and horror based in that way, and it's a frightening experience in some ways.
So does Bloodborne offer a more aggressive playstyle, whereas Dark Souls is more conservative?
Correct, yeah. Dark Souls is a lot more of a defensive game. It's not as if people are actually playing these games because they want to play it in a certain way. It's because they are designed to force players to play it a certain way. Bloodborne has been designed to force you to be aggressive, which fundamentally changes the experience in a very interesting way. It's a subtle tweak, but it actually has a big bearing on the way the game plays out. It limits you in terms of having no shield, and it speeds up the action. It allows you to move more quickly and more freely, and it actually gives you more hit points if you attack more often.
So moving on, with a Metacritic rating of 68%, why is Lords of the Fallen worth playing?
If you're a fan of the Dark Souls series, I think it's very worth playing. It is a bit clunky, the frame rate's a bit slow at times, on the PS4 at least, but it's a rather good imitation. The developers that made it are a German dev house that actually made a game called Anchor in the past, and that was a direct crib of the Secret of Monkey Island series. So these guys aren't sort of strangers to taking good ideas and trying to transplant them into their own game. And I suppose in a way imitation is just a serious form of flattery. It's a pretty good imitation of the Dark Souls series. It's not perfect, but for fans of the games, that Metacritic should bump up about 20 points, maybe slightly less.
So does Lords of the Fallen offer an aggressive playstyle like Bloodborne, or a more defensive one like Dark Souls?
Lords of the Fallen is more like Dark Souls, both in terms of style of play as well as the art direction it takes. It is a defensive game, it gives you the shield, but it actually makes a critical mistake and makes the game too easy too early on by giving you this sort of magic weapon that you can use to blast enemies from afar, which fundamentally sort of destroys the essence of what Dark Souls is, which is incrementally getting stronger and having to fight for every tool that you pick up. It's sort of Game of Thrones meets, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2. It's a fantasy setting, but one of the issues with the game is that it's not particularly memorable in terms of style. So there's a sort of, snowy castle that you're entering into, but I mean, honestly, it's, from the enemy design to the actual location that you're in, it's not particularly memorable.
So, Edward, you're a serious gamer. What is it about the Dark Souls franchise and its genre that makes it so compelling?
Look, you can be a serious gamer, you can be a casual gamer, you don't even have to be a gamer. I sincerely believe that anyone who plays this series will really fall in love with it. I myself wasn't really a fan of sort of difficult games when I first got into it, and I was immediately hooked. There's just so much to like, there's so much to love. It's just fundamentally a very, very clever game, from its mechanics to its story to the way it never holds your hand. It's just utterly unlike anything else out there, and it's rewarding from the start. Lords of the Fallen proves that imitation is this serious form of flattery. Bloodborne shows how beautiful Gothic can be, and Dark Souls really is a marathon game that feels amazing to beat. You've been watching Bandwidth Blog Live. If you liked the video, please give us a like on YouTube or wherever you're watching this, and please feel free to give us a comment as well. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed watching.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Instagram, and Google+. And be sure to join us at bandwidthblog.com.